Notts County Talk. You're joined by me and Tom. It's almost like an instant reaction / discussion, isn't it? Because we haven't got a fan with us today. We just thought we'd go with just me and Tom today. We obviously lost 2-0 to Hartlepool. Disappointing result. There's obviously a few things to take from that game. Obviously, the result in itself is quite gutting, but obviously one of the main talking points that we'll go on to later, Carl Roberts walking off the pitch, like quite clearly looked upset, kicked over the ice box, didn't he? So, that was gutting to see. But, yeah, quite a few talking points, isn't there, Tom?
Yeah, I think we just get that out of the way straight away.
Yeah.
Absolutely gutted for Cal. Absolutely gutted. Visibly distressed, as you would be. Was he rushed back? I don't know. I trust the medical staff, and I know a lot of people on Twitter are saying he was rushed back. Now, he was rushed back against Stockport. I don't think they would have been stupid enough to do it again. I don't think he was rushed back. I think they were careful. I think they rested him for the Woking game after he came on and changed it against Wrexham. I don't think he was rushed back, to be quite honest. I think it's just so unfortunate, and I'm absolutely gutted for him. And I'd be surprised if, with the length of time we saw rehab for the last injury, I'd be surprised if we saw him again this season.
Yeah, I think it's easy to say. It was too soon for him to come back, isn't it? If he goes off injured. I mean, you look at the likes of the training videos they put out. They literally put videos out, and it's like a really, really intense sort of training session. And I think they literally put a video out yesterday, and it shows you the level of intensity of the training session, and Roberts as well within that. And it almost, me and you were talking about it, weren't we? It almost looks like game level intensity, doesn't it? The training session.
In the training, yeah.
One they did yesterday anyway does. So for him to sort of come on, and after a few minutes, he literally was walking, wasn't he?
Well, he just laid the ball off to Kelly Evans, I think.
Yeah, and he was like jogging into running. He wasn't running; he was like jogging, wasn't he?
Mm.
And he just pulls up, and it's like walked straight off the pitch. He knew, didn't he? So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
good for him. Good for the team. Because seeing that as the team, I think it's sort of shown a little bit. It's deflating, isn't it? I think everyone in the team's gutted. They sort of panned the camera over to Bertrand as well, and he was saying a few words to himself. But it was just a peculiar one, wasn't it? I think another weird one from today's game was the early substitution of Griffiths for Knight. One that, if it pulls off, tactical masterclass and all that, but when he made that sub, I just thought that's such a strange sub to make. Like, it almost looked like we've gone 5-2-3, which is, it's a strange formation, isn't it? When you're thinking realistically, the top three are all strikers.
Right. What that substitution was so poor. I was saying it to you during the game. If you're watching this and you're thinking, "Oh, we'll just do the room about Bertrand," we've been very praised him so much. I think this shows an experience as a manager. He's managed in Sweden. He's young. This is going to happen with managers. It happens with managers all the time. We see it. Young managers get things wrong. Griffiths has come in. He's been okay. He was not the worst player there. He's been bought off, scapegoated. He looked upset when he came off. He was sat with Doyle, and the camera panned over to it, BT Sport. I think to myself, they've sat him with Doyle there as a bit of an arm around him, to just be saying, usually the players are sat separated, aren't they? He's sat with Doyle there. I feel like that's sort of a token gesture to say, look, you weren't that bad. It's just for the good of the team. He's come on. They've changed formation from that with Barnett playing centre midfield. You've then left yourself no options with what you do with your subs. No options, because in the end, because of the way they've changed formation, they've had to sacrifice Enzio for Carl Roberts, and that's not a sub you want to be making when you're chasing a game.
Yeah,
no, I feel like as a substitution, it was naive, it was poor. It unbalanced the side. Yes, they looked like they were dominating us, but actually they scored once a substitution had been made. You're bringing a player on in Knight who is gaining fitness and giving him, in the end, 75 minutes of a game. I just think the substitution was poor.
Yeah, and I agree. I do think it was a strange time. It was about 36th minute, if I can recall it correct.
Yeah.
So it's 9 minutes before half time. I just feel like if you're pushing for a goal before half time, like it's fair enough. But before he got subbed off, he made that overlapping run. Who was it with? I can't remember who it was with now, but he made that. I think it was Enzio down the right. Gets our first, chance, and Wootton could have should have done better. He's got a clear, good header on it, so he's done well to get on the end of it. But Wootton would want to do better for himself, I think. So strange one, really, when you think of the positions he was getting in. But yeah, odd, very odd. But
yeah,
one thing that I think Bertrand's got to take from that game is obviously if you're putting a player on that's been pulling up with injuries, I don't think you should be using all 3 subs. And obviously we've had to go about 15 to sort of 20 minutes there with 10 men against a strong side in Hartlepool, and it's shown because we've obviously conceded another goal then.
Yeah.
So I think that's something that and they said oddly then Bertrand's got to take from that, because it's all right using these sort of tactics, and I'm not slating him because he's obviously come in, and it's maybe something they've discussed before, but it did look like Griffiths didn't have a clue, did he? Like when the ball went up, he sort of stood on the pitch looking around, wasn't he? But then it was like me, like he couldn't believe it was him.
They played I don't know, 3 formations in that, 3 different styles, 3 different tactics. You've got to go into this game, Hartlepool, and absolutely ready with the tactics are going to work. And changing it 3 times doesn't show it works. Right, let's go on to some questions because we want to answer a lot of your questions. Before we do, a few people talking about the giveaway 2 weeks from when we released it. So I think it's like the 21st, I think we do it. Yeah. We're doing a giveaway. If you'd be interested in a hoodie as well, Not Can I Talk hoodie. Little plug for that. We could even do a giveaway of that in the future, but we'll do a little one with the logo. It keeps me nice and warm. Makes me feel better after a loss. Right, let's get in with the questions. So we'll go with Luke. Just think the other teams are stronger. Questions are going up. Automatic's done. Automatic's finished. We could still, with the games in hand, we could still overtake
Hartlepool.
We could still overtake Hartlepool. We'd have to win every game. And even the games we're winning, it's not easy. Is it late one against Wrexham, coming from behind against Woking, thanks to Jimmy Knowles? It's just, no. Right now, promotion, if you go to the playoffs, look, the games we are winning, we're coming from behind. Once you get into the playoffs, against the calibre teams in the playoffs, you can't come from behind against them. Look today, Hartlepool. We said it, didn't we, George? If we went behind in this game, we weren't going to win, and we never look like it. We never look like winning. So if we go in the playoffs with this, we'll start playing when we go behind, or we'll start playing when things go against us. Play better with 10 men. For me, absolutely no chance of automatics. Playoffs only if we get 2nd or 3rd place.
We talked about this, didn't we, in the game, and I didn't agree with you on that. I'm probably call me mad, but I just think about back to before this game, and I understand that the mass of this game, and it was a game we wanted something from, and we even at the start of the game we were saying we can't take a draw from this, we've got to take a win. I still think it's wide open, really. It's been a turbulent few weeks, hasn't it, for Notts? The tactics may have changed. A lot has happened, and I think if we can sort of, because it felt like it was clicking the last couple of games, I thought, especially in the second half against Woking. So I don't think the automatic is out the picture for Notts by any stretch of the imagination. I think today's definitely made it harder, but when you think about it going into today, it was only going to come out with 3 points anyway. So we've just got to sort of make up for it somewhere else. And you look at some of our fixtures later on in the season, and it is like, I think we've still got Sutton to play at home, haven't we?
Yeah.
That's a 6-point game.
5 out of our next 6 are away.
Yeah, but you say that, but look at obviously before this game, look at our away form. It was the best in the league. So
yeah, but we've got to go to Torquay away.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, obviously, other than Hartlepool, it literally is other than Hartlepool. The teams up there we've done well against. Because obviously we've lost, I think we lost 1-0 at home, didn't we? And
yeah.
Obviously lost 2-0.
We were robbed in that because I think that's the game Knowles scored an onside goal.
Yeah. Well, there you go, you see. I don't know. I think we've got to keep the faith a little bit. I think I just think about how optimistic I was for the preview for this game. I thought we were going to win 2-1. I thought we were turning a bit of a corner, but it's just, I don't know. I can't put my finger on it. I just don't think you can really expect it to happen within a matter of a few weeks. The new manager bounced, but Birchall's definitely not got it. But I hope I'm right. I can understand your perspective though, thinking it is out of the picture because
you're Mr. Optimistic though. You literally said to me in the 82nd minute, 1-0 down to 10 minutes, we're going to win. You're so optimistic. I do like it. But...
When we went down to 10 men, I turned around to you and said, we're going to win now because we've got 10 men. Because on paper, when we've gone down to 10 men, we have been quite good. So, probably a bit of a reach for that one. But, here we are, 2-0.
Let's get another one. What's with the lack of game time for Ruben? Don't think anybody ever looks to get on the ball and turn apart from him. I don't know. I don't think Birchall likes Ruben Rodriguez. He's not had very much game time at all since Birchall's come in. There's another, a few more talking about Rodriguez.
I think it's possibly a system thing. I think when you play in that sort of 3-5-2, which we are playing, it looks like that's our formation at the moment, main formation anyway. I don't think Birchall likes having that sort of player to sit behind the strikers because you look at Griffiths, Reeves, and O'Brien. None of them are doing that. They're sort of like all sort of spread, and you could probably say Reeves is sitting a little bit deeper. So I don't know if Rodriguez sort of suits that role, and maybe you might have a case for him not favouring Rodriguez after bringing Griffiths in, and Griffiths getting a lot more game time since he's come in. So it'd be interesting to see the coming weeks. It's so hard to tell at the minute. It just seems a bit up in the air, doesn't it? Everything.
It does. It does. Ruben Rodriguez, the question there, I don't know. If he doesn't get any game time against Solihull, I'd be a bit worried for him because where's he coming into this squad? That's all right. Ben, big follow of the channel, so appreciate that. Double whammy for me. Lose ground to everyone. It cowers my hope. Yeah, massive loss. Absolutely huge. I did see, we disagreed on this as well. Disagreed more than we have today. I did see some real promising signs from Knight today. We finally got to see that pace. One thing we did agree on was the final ball. For me, if Knight can play his way in, get that fitness, I think we're doing well with him. So, yeah.
No, agreed. Yeah, no, I think he's obviously got sparks of being a good player, but I just think his final ball is not great, and sometimes I feel like he could take a few more steps or go forward a little bit further before he makes the decision to do the final ball. So he works on that, and it's only a minor thing because someone with his skill set, I think, can be very successful.
Yeah, Jeremy with a question. Don't think it was a terrible performance. They are a very good side, I agree. Rawlinson is a weak link, not good enough to play out from the back, and both goals should have. He lost the man, didn't he, for the first? He sucked him.
Yeah, we were saying it like for the player that got the assist for their first, I think O'Brien, Reeves, and Rawlinson went to him. Where you're thinking, in case of Rawlinson, and it's Rawlinson's man that scored the goal. So for me, if Rawlinson stays on his man and reads that Reeves and O'Brien are going to it maybe a little bit better, they don't score that first goal. But yeah, I'd agree. It's a shame he's not been up to his usual standard because I think Rawlinson is probably one of the better players for Notts. But the last couple of weeks, maybe it's in the back three. Like, does the back three work for Rawlinson?
Do you know what? For me, our issue is this season is that Slocum last season was class all season. Got not so many points. This season, up and down. Rawlinson, class all last season, up and down. Lacey, up and down. There's no one putting in. Nobody in the team now, because Kelly Evans' performances have dropped. Wharton's performances have tailed off massively. There's no one in the team putting in a good performance every single week. That's the issue. And the trouble is, you get some people putting in good performances, and then others are dropping their levels. There's no fantastic performance, and that's Chris has said that here. Look, we've not managed to put two decent performances in a row. If you've got 6 of your 11 putting in a fantastic performance, and you've got the other 5 that are just average, you're not going to get those 2 decent performances in a row. I can't. This is such a strange season, and it can't be coincidental that it's coming in this season where it's a pandemic, no fans, it's all stuttering starting. But there's just massive. Like I'm just mind blown with what's gone off this season. 10 false starts probably 10 false dawns within the season. We've lost to Hornchurch, but then we've gone and absolutely inch perfect performance against Stockport to win at home. Stealing it away at Sutton. It's just really, really confusing, and I don't know I don't really know what to say about it.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, you make a good point. It's strange.
It's the strangest season I've known, and because I feel like we're sat in 20th place in the league. I feel so deflated. We're in a playoff spot. We're in a chance of Wembley again. It's so strange.
It is strange. So strange. I think it's for me and you. I know we probably speak for a lot of Notts fans when I say this, but we were sort of expecting to win the league, weren't we, this season? Yeah. I think you look at last season. I mean, the playoff final wasn't great, let's be honest. But I mean, last season I thought we were really good, and you sort of come into this season with that same confidence. But then, obviously, like Kyle Roberts has been a huge miss. A few players have left, like Thomas, Dennis. So it's been difficult. It's been very difficult, I think. And I think when you look at the likes of Thomas as well, he's played off Wharton very well last season. So I think that's something that Wharton's missed.
Yeah. I cannot put my finger on it. And I like to think that we're not saying we know everything. We know a decent amount about football, as do most people commenting here. And I don't think anyone can put a finger on what's happened this season. How can we go and the double header against Yeovil? How can we go and put in a faultless display, 2-0, 2 crackers, Yeovil hardly threatened, and then days later, be turned over with the same team and the same tactics? It doesn't make any sense. And the trouble is, if we don't get that second or third spot, and like the comment that's still on the screen from Chris, 2 decent performances in a row, if we finish in the bottom half or the bottom ladder of the playoffs, we've got to put 3 not decent performances in a row. We've got to put 3 class performances in a row. And if we can't do that, we're going and playing teams like, we'll get a really good team like your Hartlepools today, but then we played a Woking. And Woking, we should be beating Woking. And we should be beating the older shot in the years before. We're not going to put 3 decent performances in a row against Stockport, Torquay and Hartlepool, or Stockport, Sutton and Wrexham. We're just not going to do it. We're not going to do it.
I'll be interested to see what Birchland has to say after that one, because I'm sure if Slater is there, well, he will be, won't he? What sort of, if he'll question him about this early substitution and what he'll have to say about that. And I'm also looking forward to the presser that he does to see, how far gone is Kyle Roberts? Like, is that him now? If we get
I think that's for the season.
I do as well. I'm just probably being optimistic. I mean, it's not like me. I'm being proper off character here.
Adam's got Adam's put a few things in the chat. Let me just find what he said. So I know working in the Hartlepool, sometimes it's too predictable. Wharton up top. Wharton's a top scorer, but you lose something when he plays, and you lose that mobility up front that we saw with Knowles and Knight.
Yeah,
you lose it because he comes deep and he gets the ball, fantastic, but his back's always to goal. I'd love to know. We've got Richard from Notts County Stats on again tomorrow night for the preview, and I'd love to know sort of the amount of key passes that Carl Wotton's making. He's done a brilliant knockdown with his head today for Knowles. What else has he really done? I mean, he's missed a header that he probably should have scored. That's what I mean. Everyone's off colour at certain points of the season. But Jimmy Knowles scoring a hat-trick. And then today, anonymous. Not bad, but pretty anonymous. Done a couple of good things.
The thing
very strange.
The thing as well about today is I don't actually think we played that bad.
No.
By any stretch of the imagination. I think, we had attacking intent. We made a few chances for ourselves. But it's just that thing of, I think our first true test of the keeper was after the 80th minute, wasn't it? So that it's just I don't know, it's a little bit concerning, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I'm hoping it's something that Birchall can sort of get the players out of, because a young manager can sort of struggle to sort of pull players out of a bad patch.
Well, that's what I said I wanted. I wanted a motivator to come in. But clearly, Birchall's, he might be a motivator, but he's not shown it so far.
I think in those sort of areas that he lacks in motivation, I think Mo Ross probably makes up for. It seems that way anyway. It's obviously a bit too early to call it, isn't it? I don't think we can be too put it too much down to Birchnell. Obviously, he doesn't help himself with that early substitution and it not really having too much of an impact on the game.
Suicidal substitution.
It's a strange one. Yeah, it's a strange one. I feel a bit there for Griffiths because I think your head does drop a little bit. No matter what the manager says to you, like that was for the team, blah blah blah. Your head's going to go a little bit, and he did look a little bit upset. I thought, but we'll see how it pans out. We'll see how it pans out.
Andy Newham's got a comment in. Yeah, consistency is a problem. Brilliant at times, but other times dreadful. I agree. And they are, to say dreadful is a strong word for a team that, where are we, fifth, sixth in the league. But at times, it has been dreadful. At times, I feel like, well, we've seen it. Barnet carved us open earlier in the season. Look at Barnet now. It's a dreadful team. How do we build consistency? I don't know. I really don't know. Because how much more motivation can you need than 2 wins on the bounce? One against Wrexham, who at that point, I know they lost their striker. But motivation should be high. They should have been pumped up for that game. Massively pumped up for that game. But they're not.
For me, it makes me wonder, like, going into, say it's the end of the season now and we're going into summer, how much is going to change in terms of personnel? How much needs to change in terms of personnel? Because I think when it comes to consistency, those sort of questions do need to be asked. And Arthur said in one of his last post-match interviews that like there's only so much he can do. He's never had to work so hard as a manager, and that weighs on the players, doesn't it?
Let me bring this in, like what you just said. So we've got to recruit players with potential for the future. It's looking like, I mean, you can go in with all the confidence in the world that we're going to win the playoffs, but if you don't, you have got to look at this for the future. I think Knight's one of those investments. Jimmy Knowles, if his contract's up, can we get him? He'll be one for the future. But at the minute, look, the average age of our squad's one of the highest in the league.
Yeah.
Starting, and Michael Doyle and Jim O'Brien and Ellis really bring that up. But
Rollo as well.
Yeah.
And Slocum, they're all. Yeah. I think they're all above 30, aren't
they? But there's just that I've said it probably 20 times in this 22 minutes we've been live, but something I can't put my finger on. I don't know what the problem is. I don't know, because again, how is this? Yes, it can be a one-off. We've played better with 10 men when our best player in the whole squad has gone off injury. We play better with 10 men, but that's not the first time that's happened. Like up against it completely, and we've played better. Dagenham and Redbridge. How do you explain this? How do you explain going into a game like Kings Lynn?
Pressure, isn't it?
Yeah, Kings Lynn at home when they've got some players that I believe were furloughed to streamline the squad, and we can put performances in as we've done with the 10 men, and then we go and get dominated for 60 minutes in that. Okay, I just baffled, and I'm disappointed tonight because I went in with a massive amount of confidence ahead of this game.
Yeah, I think it's definitely made life more difficult for us, hasn't it? I think if we are, at what point do we sort of admit, we're going for playoffs now? And and at what point do we sort of say, look, we need to get second and third place? We don't want to be playing that extra game because I honestly think the playoffs is a lottery.
Yeah,
you've got teams like every team wants it more than anything, so it's a lottery.
Do you know who we could be up against in the playoffs and would be very tricky? Chesterfield.
Yeah, would struggle. Sutton or Torquay would struggle.
We'd still be Hartlepool.
Hartlepool, Stockport, tough sides, really tough sides. I mean, you look at the last time we played Stockport. I mean, they should have beat us really because they got an offside goal that wasn't offside, wasn't it? So
yeah. I want to bring this question. So why didn't we start the first half like we started the second with a bit of urgency? I genuinely think the plan was to stifle them at the start and then hit them later on. I think the night substitution, because of how much we're getting dominated, that's why Birchnell went that early with it. I think that was going to be planned for the second half. I think we were going to try and stifle them and then bring Roberts on as well. But that's not a game plan we should be having. We should be at least matching these teams for the majority of the game, for all of the game really. We should be dominating some of these teams. We've got Jake Reeves. he's above this division, definitely. But sometimes you don't see it, and that's the consistency issue. But you do see flashes when we'll rip teams apart. We're ripping Hartlepool apart for a good 5 minutes with 10 men.
Yeah.
We just need to see that more often. And I know this has seemed quite negative, so I'm going to bring this in from Nick. It tells us to be more positive. Yeah, I actually agree there. You know, the longer we go from full time, the more I reflect on the game. And I think, look, we could easily stay around this spot and get the results, and then we could easily 3-4 games before the playoffs suddenly click like that, and we could have Roberts back. You know, we could have Knight really kicking into form, and all of a sudden we could be in pole position for that playoff. So there is hope there. I think the second and third now, we can't finish below third.
No, in an ideal world, you don't want to be doing that. No, I see what you're saying. No, like it is right to a degree, isn't it? I mean, have had a few chances. The early chance from Wharton, if that had gone in, the game changes completely. We do have obviously a bit of a chance when Roberts. He has a good effort. It just feels hard to be positive. I feel like I don't feel like I'm a negative fan really. I'm probably I'm probably too optimistic really, but I don't know. It's just been so consistent this season, and there's games that you just go into and you're assured you're going to win, and we've lost. So after a game like this, where a lot of preparation has gone into it, probably more so than any game this season. When you look at how long we've had to prepare for it, we've actually had 4 or 5 days.
Certainly for Birchnell.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so you'd have expected a little bit more. You want at least a point from a game like today. It's huge, but it's just one of those, isn't it? It's just one of those.
Yeah, I mean, we blamed COVID disruption, and then we had like games called off. Didn't we have one called off for weather conditions or something? And actually, they're writing a bit on the wall all season. We're just not a side that can string 3, 4, 5 wins together consistently like these other teams can. That's Hartlepool's 14th game unbeaten, 14th in all competitions unbeaten.
Yeah.
There was a little spell under Arley towards the end where he sort of got 4 or 5 games, maybe we won them all. But we've got to up that if we go into the playoffs. 100%. I'd like to know in the comments where you think we'll finish. Will we finish automatic? Very unlikely. Top, second or third? Or do you think it's going to be the lower half of the playoffs? I'd like to know what you guys are thinking. I'll flash a few up on the screen if we can get a few.
Where do you think, Tom?
I think it'll be a battle for third and fourth.
I think you're probably not far off there.
You just basically said we're going to win every single game because you sort of.
No, I didn't. I said I don't. I don't think automatic's out of the picture. That's all.
It's not out of the picture.
But
it's not.
Yeah, I think in a realistic world, I think second or third, probably third.
Okay, Tony, 5th or 6th. Chris, 5th or 6th. It seems to be the consensus. The way this season's gone, if we finish 6th, I'll take it. You've got to, because another one here, 5th. One thing I do want to go on is, I don't know how many people knew this, but they actually had a scratch defence out. There was a few injuries, and their keeper, you would have seen, he had this mad arm brace on, didn't he?
He had a nice hat as well, didn't he? It said Babe on it.
Points deduction for that. Stuff it, points deduction. But
should get a replay.
I've lost my point now because you're talking about his hat.
No, you're on about they've got like they're down to the bones, aren't they? Like you're saying.
They're down to bare bones. And this goalkeeper is the first time I think he played in 4 months, didn't they say? And he's not been tested till 10 minutes before full time with a shot on target. That's inexcusable. Just even have a pop shot from 30 yards. He might parry it, he might push it out. I don't really know. Just before we wrap this up, I've got player ratings to do in a minute. And it's not pretty reading. It's an odd one because we've not had the worst game, but no one stood out of it.
No, I think the bit that we feel the most deflated now, because you feel like one of the things that would give us that energy boost and that surge going into the last 2 games of the season has just walked off the pitch injured, and you feel like he's probably not going to be back now for the rest of the season. So the sort of person that could have probably pulled us out of the situation they were in and got us back up where we want to be, is just gone off injured. So it's extra deflating in that respect. Like we've just said, I don't think the performance was that bad, but it's a tough one to do player ratings for. I feel sorry for you on that regard.
A few comments in. I won't flash a few of them up, but a few people asking, when do we think Roberts will be back? If you've missed it, we said at the start, we don't think Roberts. Well, I don't think Roberts will be back this season. The way he walked off, he knew. I mean, it's not often a player walks straight off the pitch, is it? So
no.
Let's end on a positive from Jack. Jack reckons we're finishing first.
Love it, absolutely.
So let's just say, if we're to finish first, it would be unbelievable. The ride to the end of the season would be insane. I think there's 12 to go. I think to finish first, we would need to win 10 of 12.
Yeah.
But when you say that,
if we finish first, I'll say it on a limb. I'll give Jack a Notts County top morgue.
You're so generous.
I am, mate. It's in my veins.
You're so generous. But if 10 of 12, that would give us what? Minimum of 30 points on what we've got now. Actually, when you put it as 10 of 12, teams have done that this season. It's not It's not out of the question. The only thing is, what's against us now, we'd have to probably win 10 of 12, 9 of 12, but they'd have to be the right results as well. Like the game we lose couldn't be to Sutton, and it couldn't be to Torquay. We've got to go now. We've got to. I mean, we've got Barnet still to play. I'd like to think 3 points there. We've got Maidenhead. I'd like to think 3 points. But then we've also got Torquay away. We've got Sutton. We've got Wrexham. All in the balance.
Do you know what, though? I think they're good games to have at this point of the season, because then it's purely in your hands, isn't it? That you pick up those points against those sides and they are losing points. So I do think it's a good time to have those games, and it can really give the squad a boost. But just hopeful.
Yeah. If you haven't entered our giveaway, it's our pinned tweet on Twitter. All you have to do is follow us, like, and retweet the tweet. Now there's 5 to give away. We've been generous. 5 to give away, and that ends, I think, on the 21st. I think it is. And also, we're closing in on 1,250 subscribers. That'd be great if we could hit that this weekend.
Yep.
Match preview tomorrow, as I've already said, with Richard from Notts County Stats. With a really good watch last week, wasn't it, George? Or Sunday?
Yeah, I really enjoyed that one, actually. Really insightful.
Yeah, I came in with a lot of stats. I'm sure he'll have some really interesting stats about the game coming up. Yeah. On Tuesday, earlier 7 o'clock kickoff against Solihull, and he'll definitely have some stats. I'm going to ask him for a few to get ready for the game we've just had against Hartlepool. As always, let's try and remain positive. Thank you for watching, everyone that's joined in. We've got quite a few questions up there, and hopefully we'll see some of you tomorrow.